actually dealing with different opinions and with the diversity. That is my judgment. That's my judgment about what I see in Germany. And then what we also had over the last couple of months was an enormous and belligerent response to the Hallam quotes, that like those Hallam, whatever Roger Hallam said. And then we found out that we don't have any way to deal with conflict. Like they were very, very polarized parties on Mattermost in Germany, and I think the one goes together with the other. It's too much. Okay, yeah.
I'll do my best. So so you were saying that actually there's a certain contradiction in your experience of the groups in Germany, because although XR is supposed to stand for change and a different way of doing things, there's a lot of conflict avoidance. And yeah, it seemed like, it wasn't something that you agreed with. You thought people ought to deal with conflict more. And you said that was even on a small scale of small conflicts that don't get addressed. And that means that people, it's this homogeneous, you said, thing, and then people that tend to leave. There'll be people that leave because conflict didn't get addressed. And on a different...
Because they don't feel welcome, maybe, in that, to bring in any,
Yeah, because they don't feel welcome. There's no space to bring in. And then the other thing you were saying was about how at the same time there's a lot of reactivity to the Roger Hallam situation. Use the word belligerent response, and that there is no way, you haven't found a way of actually dealing with conflicts. Everything gets very polarized, and it gets discussed, but there's no resolution to it. Right?
Yeah, because we haven't practiced it, and I actually think it's the growing edge of XR right now. If we want to be to have impact, I think we need to deal with this, with who we are as we go out there. So that's my conviction, and I'm still looking for ways in.
Yeah, so you're thinking about how to go about addressing this situation, because you think there's a great, that's where the potential is, of making it or not making it, is actually having methods and having ways of walking towards conflict and resolving it and growing.
Yeah, and growing that willingness to turn towards conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. I think my time is over.
Thank you. Nelly, will you listen to me, please?
Yes, I try. I had some internet connectivity problems, so I hope it's going to be fine.
Let me know if at some point, just sign to me if you can't hear me. I really liked, and I felt Andrea was so articulate. And I had forgotten to start recording at the beginning, which I'm very annoyed, but then because what she was saying, it felt precious. Then I noticed, I'm not recording. So yeah, I'll stop there. I'm just giving you some time to reflect that bit, if you want to reflect that much.
Yes, sure, okay. So you really loved how Andrea found words to express this situation, and it's really gave you some insight, and that's why you realized that you were not recording. You wanted to keep this for the others to see.
Yeah, and it is the same feeling I have, and it's my mind has that feeling, my body has that feeling, my gut has that feeling that this is where the magic can happen or not happen. Is if, you know, I think if we manage to walk, and if we manage to use this conflict to actually grow instead of pretending, you know, if to actually show up instead of pretending to show up. Yeah, I think we get emotional about it, right? I think there's a lot of potential there, and I get excited about it. And because I think people that I've seen all my life that are involved in politics, because ultimately, you know, that's what we want. We want to have people not, you know, that go out and make the politics of the future. But traditionally, people in politics are not vulnerable. You know, they're like pretend people. And you can't actually engage in conflict while remaining a pretend person, or at least I believe you can.
Shall I take this piece? Yeah. So you really feel energy when you think about this, and for you the walking towards conflict is also linked intensely with vulnerability, and for people in politics or in in positions who to decide where they have means to decide things, but they usually try to not seem vulnerable, to not show this part of them, and so they can't resolve conflict by this and learn from conflict. So just by how it's done, how it's been.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I'll develop it later, but there's also this idea that came to me this week of how what is normalized is to not be very emotional. If someone is very emotional in normal society, there's something wrong with them. Someone empathizes too much, and I had never realized how that is also a form, if you are very emotional, it's also a form of oppression. That you're not allowed to be as emotional as it comes natural to you. And I'll stop there.
Okay. So it's there's if people get very emotional in our society, they this is not welcomed. There's no one welcoming this. It's on the contrary, it's put. They are shamed for doing this. So and this is a form of inhibiting this people to fully be themselves.
Yeah, thank you, Nelly. I feel fully heard.
Okay, I must I want to share that I found a way.
Nelly, you just need to choose someone.
By Dominic Barr.
Nelly, can you?
I'm listening.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. It's not. Do you want to reflect me?
Oh. Who did you address, Nelly? Who should reflect you?
Bob, do you want to reflect me?
Sometimes if we turn off our video, it makes the audio better.
Well, I can turn off my video, for example.
Well, I mean for Nelly, because if she can go just audio, it might help audio.
Okay.
Okay,
let's see.
I'm listening.
Okay. Okay. I've heard you. Everyone's looking for ideas how to change the behavior from not from avoiding conflict to going towards conflict. And I think I have found a way how I can do this, and it's made some rapid. It's helped me make rapid changes in my personality and in my capacity to support others. Was also rising.
So I hear you saying that rather than avoid conflict, you approach it, and in engaging with the conflict, your personality changes and your capacity to connect and relate with people increases.
Yes, and it's not just that I walk towards conflict, because I wasn't able to do that initially, but I've used a strategy suggested by Dominic Barter and put it in place in my own life, and this enabled me in a slow process to walk towards conflict more.
So your study of the work of Dominic Barta has helped you walk toward conflict with courage and confidence.
It's a slow process. It's a very slow process, and each time I've made a little step, I was able to walk towards conflict more easily.
So it's a slow process, but each step you take strengthens you.
So it's not, in the beginning, it's not that I started to walk. I will say it in Dominic's words. It's not the question why I'm not able to walk towards conflict. The question is, what support do I need in order to be able to walk towards conflict? And that is key.
So you're quoting Barta, the question is not, why am I not walking toward conflict? The question is, what support do I need as I go toward conflict?
Yeah. And so I went on a journey to find out what is supportive for me and where I can get this. And the better I got in this, the better, the more conflict I could walk towards.
So you seek out support, and the more support you got, the more conflict you were able to approach.
And it's not seek support and no, it's empathy circle or whatever, or nonviolent communication, but it's really personal. It's personal for me to learn and to find out what is supportive for me, and to find someone, another person who is able to give me that support. So always looking for this, not just using one tool, but yeah.
So it's not just empathy, it's all tools that affirm you and strengthen you as you work with others and find joy in that working in those relationships.
I think it's maybe a bit complicated and long, and maybe I will just finish and then try again later. Maybe you have thoughts, Andrea. Maybe can say stuff or whatever, whoever.
Okay. So you understand it's a complicated, long process, and you want to pause here and resume your comments in another turn. And perhaps yes, Andrea can help you.
Okay.
My turn now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Marta, would you please listen to me?
Yes, Bob.
Nellie inspires me. I wrote down a note. I've been sending out letters to politicians, and now I want to try to make appointments in their offices and just have an empathy circle with someone and see what they say. I was also touched by Marta's comments about false politicians who have no sense of real humanity. So I want to walk in and say, okay, let's be human together.
Yeah, so you're thinking you've been writing letters to politicians locally to where you are, and now you're trying to book, thinking of booking also to go and see them in their offices, and you're thinking of engaging in empathy circles with them, and yeah, there's something else.
Well, I think that's it. I'm a little skeptical of what can be accomplished. We've been wandering around this planet for about 10,000 years as human beings, and we've gotten ourselves into a very sorry state. But regardless of past history, I want to be an instrument for empathy and climate change and health and human wholeness.
So yeah, so you're saying we've been on this path of self-destruction for a while, and so you're not particularly hopeful, but you want to align yourself and put yourself in a position of where you can help and be of use.
Right, and just having the conviction to go out and do this helps me have self-respect and a self-awareness and a consciousness that I can live with and sleep at night.
So yeah, so taking action and actually engaging and doing things, it helps with feeling more at ease with it, and it increases your self-respect and sense of well-being and self-worth.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard. Thank you, Marta, very much.
Nelly, will you listen to me?
Yes.
So it is interesting. You know, I read a bit of Dominic Barter's things, and it is a mindset. But it's a mindset that is a bit alien to a lot of people. And so I'm thinking, well, it makes me want to think or brainstorm ways of conveying it with examples that people can understand, that they can relate to in their day-to-day lives.
Okay, so you are familiar with Dominic Barter's work, and you find that the trouble for many people to really learn from him, to really understand what he's telling, is that the gap between what he says and what is really in their daily life, or little steps which they can understand, is quite large. You would like to find a way to bridge that gap.
Yeah. Yeah. As an example, I'm thinking I struggle to explain to my boyfriend the concept of emotional labor. So, you know, if I'm at home and I'm doing and things aren't tidy, and there's all these things that I notice in our house, all these tasks I end up doing, and he doesn't notice them. You know, he doesn't notice that the towel is on the floor, or that the bed needs washing, or whatever. And he's amazing. You know, it's not criticism. It's just because of the education and all of that, you know, at this moment in time where I live, men and women still see these things differently. But when he works in workshops fixing bikes, and so he helps organize, and in the workshop where he works, you know, there's the tools on the wall, and things have a particular order, you know, and things. And so when people go there and they don't, you know, and also he orders things. So he needs to order tires, and he needs to order rubbers, and he, you know, when people go there and they use the things that he needs to order without telling him, then he gets upset. So when I noticed that, actually, I realized he was doing the emotional labor in that space. And so I could explain what the issue was to him in a way that made sense. So that's, you know, the kind of thing that I'm thinking is, how can we find examples that are just already in people's lives?
You're looking to find words, to find that have to use, to find words that express something which he can relate to, which, or to establish a common meaning, maybe with different specific incarnations, but which
and so for the conflict, what this means is, empathy and all these things are very abstract to some people. So it's finding examples that makes it obvious to them.
Yes, empathy is a big word, and you're looking for finding some idea that people already know, some phenomenon they already have experience in their daily life, which they can understand about.
Thank you, Nelly. I feel right.
Okay, so I will try to talk to Andrea, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. This helped me actually, what Marta said, because that's how all my success stories started, by finding some way to explain empathy to my first support person, and that was my father. And Dominic Barter says empathy is what removes the blocks to action. And I was thinking about my father. He's developing electronic devices, and as a student, he asked me to help him with a project, and he told me loads of stuff which I didn't understand, and I asked some stupid questions, and then he said, "Oh, you helped me so much," and I was so frustrated because I didn't do anything, I didn't understand anything, and yeah, I felt so unworthy and unhappy. And when I later thought back to this situation, and with the knowledge from Dominic Barter, then I realized that I actually did help him back then. I gave him empathy, and so I was able to show him this situation, and I think he really understood what was happening there.
Yeah. Okay, trying to, yeah. So what I hear you say is that it's close to your heart to bring your success story, that how that really started working for you, to our understanding, and what Marta said actually helped you understand how you started doing that, even without knowing about that it's a possibility, like before you knew Dominic Barter. And you're referring back to a situation with your dad, who was actually, after knowing Dominic Barter, your first support person. And I'm still trying to understand he felt helped by you at some point when he tried to explain his work to you, and you didn't quite understand and asked a lot of questions. And that felt like a way into explaining empathy to him when you started your support relationship with him. I think you have to help me.
Okay. Yeah. I talked too much about my experience probably, but his experience was he was explaining his problem to me, and then suddenly realized how it's working. So it removed. He had some blocks. He couldn't think straight. He couldn't understand what's the problem. And while talking to me, those blocks were removed, and he could solve the problem, write the program. So
right. Okay.
situation.
Yeah. I think that's how I understood it. And what I heard was that you then used that as a way to, like Marta said, bring it into his reality. That
Yes.
you know, that this is what empathy can do. You know, even if you don't recognize it as empathy, or that is what. Yeah. Okay.
And the difficult thing then was to navigate the topic of conflict and emotions, because for technical stuff, it's very common to use this empathy. Many people have experienced it, and it's working quite well, because if you ask for help on a technical problem, nobody feels it doesn't touch on so many painful things in the person who is seeking help, and then the person who is giving help important. So it's not getting so. There's the brain Siegel brain model, which Andrea told me. So yeah, and this is not happening there in a technical setup. So.
So what I hear you say is that there's a way to get that aha moment of, oh, that is what empathy could actually do, like uninhibited, or, you know, just agendaless listening, what it can do for me. But then the next challenge for you was to bring that to an emotional level where conflict usually happens, because then other dynamics play out, and sometimes the brain doesn't work the way it should. So that I'm hearing you say that, yeah, that was a way in to explain empathy, but the next challenge is to how then to deal with more inflammatory topics, emotions, conflicts, pain.
I kept repeating that it's the same, and it still helps, and it's the best thing which helps. And we both probably we switched back to the old ways of handling stuff. So yeah, to find good advice or stuff like that. So I'm done. Or do you want to repeat this, or reflecting, or just
yeah, I'll just do the last reflection, I guess. That, yeah, you actually find it challenging to take it to that other level, because you found, both of you, kind of returning to old ways of functioning. So yeah. that's the next. Yeah. Thank you. So my turn, is it? And I will choose Bob to listen to me.
Andrea, I'm listening.
Okay. I find this fascinating, really. First of all, I'm so impressed with Nelly doing that with her father. My God. Yeah, I think that's just what stayed with me. And what else was I thinking about? It all seems to circle, like all these things seem to cross, connect.
So you're impressed with this process, and you're deeply touched by Nelly's experiences and her stories of that empathy moment with her father. And you appreciate the circling and the positive movement that this process gives you.
Yeah, just the recognition of the connections between all these topics. And I think I actually, my mind rested on what you said, Marta, about how emotions are actually pathologized in our society. And not, I feel not even like hysterical, like when you are out of order or something. I mean, that clearly, but even to bring up the idea of our internal states might be really important, and seems to be, and maybe that is my fear. It seems to be really like the people in my local group. It seems to be off-putting, and I experience that energy that I have been meeting in XR, especially before the rebellion wave, as extremely urgent and goal-oriented, to the extent that people said, well, we can talk about all kinds of things, but first we need to save the planet, right? Which seems so crazy to me. But then often when I have brought or tried to bring awareness of conflicts and an offer to kind of look at it in a different way to places, I nearly censored myself because I expected that response of, you're wasting our time. This is not the right way to rebel. We need to, there's a very strong emphasis on action.
So as you are engaged in the XR groups, you find that emotion is pathologized and regarded as unnecessary and even antithetical to the purpose of the group. And you are offended by their inability to honor emotion and energy and to ignore the need within the group to deal with it properly so that we can effectively present the message.
Okay, I kind of jumped at the reflection of offended. I didn't feel offended, but helpless in some ways, and also I have been noticing, but this is also something I know of myself, like and I think it's tied into this whole thing of us being so used to silencing ourselves. I just expected that backlash of, we don't have time for that. This is the right way to go about things. I experienced that actually as a conflict between the masculine and the feminine. That is my take. Between the left brain and the right brain, I'll say, because I've met men who are more able to integrate their right brain than women also. But I will say that since I've been with XR and before, I have done a lot of internal personal work. I found it really hard to stand up to that, what I perceive as a activist, left-brained, goal-oriented, don't look right or left, emotion, repressive, general flavor that I perceive, which I think is actually a mirror of our societies. And what else can it be? I mean, we're part of it.
So in your participation in the XR groups, you note, but we're not offended by, the lack of integration of left-right brain, masculine, feminine abilities to deal with both goals and emotional energy that is part of the progress toward the goal. And you hope that XR can be more comprehensive in its ability to accept emotion as well as goal orient.
I don't think I hope. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking for. I'm actually asking, because I do perceive that, like coming back to the topic of conflict on a from a meta perspective, that seems to be quite a central conflict to me. And it's also, I mean, it's out there on the planet. We don't have time, but we do need to develop those tools. We do need to become the people who we want to be. We do need to become that culture that might be sustainable, and that is a clash in itself. I think that urgency that our predicament faces us with, and the deep inner work that is asked of us. So I try to hold that all. Yeah.
So you're stating that the inner conflict in one individual is mirrored in the group conflict in an XR group, is mirrored in the broader planetary inability to integrate and comprehend the totality of the emotional experience and the message.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll leave it at that, and I think I just put out a lot, so I'm a little, and I feel heard, and it's just maybe I put out a lot. Thank you.
Nellie, would you please listen to me?
Yes, okay.
I had an idea that if I go down to City Hall, which is our little town government center, and just ask to speak to someone, and then say to that person, it seems to me that you are so protective of your own power, you're unable to listen for the needs that our planet faces.
Do you want to reflect you?
Please.
Yes? Okay, sorry. I thought you wanted to continue. Okay, so I hear that you have a dream or a vision or an idea of going to the town hall. It's not a big city. It's you can really meet with the people there, and to tell them they are can you repeat? Sorry.
I want to tell them that I want to ask them, are you so drunk with power that you are unable to perceive the problems that power needs to be used to solve?
So you want to ask them if they are so if the power they have makes them so busy with thinking about stuff that they don't they are not able to realize what would be necessary to do with
Yes, it seems to me that the people who hold the offices of government don't want to change anything. They just want to stay in power and do nothing.
So, so you get the impression, you feel that the people who hold the power are afraid to they might lose the power. So that's their motivation to not really think in different ways, which might cause them to lose some of that power.
Yes, so I want to find a way to say that politely.
So you're quite sure that if you just go as in this vision, if you just go to the people, this won't work.
So I need to polish my message and be empathic to help them know that I care about them and that I want them to listen to me and I want to listen to them.
So you're looking to find a way how you can help them to be able to listen to your message.
Yes, I want it to be a back and forth, a mutual relationship. I want to listen to them and I want them to listen to me.
So you not only want to listen to them, you also want to them to be able to hear your message.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Marta, do you want to listen to me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's when I think of what Bob said, my experience is that people can listen if they had support before. So if you want them to listen to you, I believe you must find a way how you can support them well enough before. So that's how I would do it.
Yeah, so you're saying that in reference to what Bob was saying, that the first step would be to identify what supports people need and offer those, find a way that they can have those so that they can engage with the information, so that they can actually be available to the requests or, what is being told to them before.
And I've made the experience that you have to go to dig quite deep, and it's not about not just about the big ideological or whatever things. It's much about the personal things, the personal experiences these people have made in their lives, and if you can fully hold them the way they are, they can start to listen.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's quite listening and looking and understanding this person and what their own place and time and everything is, so that they are actually there with you, so they can unfurl, they can open to it. Is that it?
It's I want to express that it's not it's very personal stuff, which they might. I noticed that I'm acting aggressively in one point, and the reason when I track it back, I'm now able to track back why I'm acting aggressively in one place, and it goes 2 or 3 steps back, and then back to my childhood, and so yeah.
So you're saying, if I understand it, it might not be obvious of what it is in them that, you know, needs to be held and supported. It might be something that, you know, is not obvious from the outside. It is to do with their very personal life, could be even their childhood and their upbringing and their stories. It's what they've had before that just means that they are in whatever state they are in the now.
People even you can just look at yourself about the things which you do. Maybe you drive a car and you know it's bad, and it's your so you are in a way acting in a similar destructive way as such a person with more power does, and so but it's very, all your friends, all your family do it, and you can't hate them for it. So and that's what those people also
Okay.
We are at the end.
Yeah, so it's the conditioning that we all have that is to do with our environment and what is normal in our context. Is that it? That is what makes.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I think it's not enough when one person comes to go to them and talk to them. I think they need a real support network to change their life. But one person is a good start. But
so yeah, so it's not just, you know, one person coming to them with one idea is not going to be enough. It needs to be a continuous form of support that they can integrate it into their lives, that actually is in line with their lives.
Yeah. Okay.
And they would need to want it.
Well, fully.
Okay, everyone's coming by.